Through how to post on the MSP Media Network Discord. The first part of this process is, of course, to have all your files ready to go, organized, as well as all the information for posting organized. So I'll show you kind of what the final setup should look like. This right here is the file that was downloaded. I downloaded it from YouTube this morning, but you could also get this off of Frame from whoever edited it, or possibly even Dropbox. But I typically like to name these files with the date in the normal OIT fashion, with the year, month, day, and then an abbreviation for the show. So in this case, MSPD. I added a 2 because this is the second one that we posted that day. Normally this doesn't happen hardly ever. And you can see how on that same day we posted this right here. And I named it 24/05/29 MSPD. So just so you have an example of that. Additionally, I like to take the step of taking that file and compressing it using a program called Handbrake. It is a free video converter that you can download off the internet. You can use the preset fast 1080p 30 frames per second. You can see right here it says modify, because I like to jump into, you'll open on the summary, but if you click over to video, you can change this RF to a higher value, and that's going to help compress it quite a bit. If you need a better explanation, just hover over that and it'll explain it to you. But typically for all our episodes, I've found a good happy medium to be RF28. You go to here, you can either right click and open that file from the Finder, or you can open source right here. Make sure you rename it. I always like to use the suffix final on the files that are going to be uploaded. And then also make sure when you are going to run that, you browse and put it in the same folder as where your files are. From there, you just hit start. It'll run. It takes a little while. I've already done this, so that's why you'll see the video file over here listed as final. Additionally, just another note, if you're editing with Premiere, you can edit this file. You can export this file as an MP3. I've always done MP3 192 Kbps high quality. If for some reason you didn't do that, you can just open Premiere, export it again. Or if you're not the editor and you need to process the file for that, open up Adobe Media Encoder and then drop this file in there. And then you can here, I'll show you real quick. Drop your file in here. Then you can choose the preset that you want to use. If you click on this right here, it'll open up a whole menu of presets. So you go to MP3 and it gives you some presets there for MP3 192 Kbps high quality. So there you go. Once you run those, you will have both of your files ready to go. So next thing you want to do, jump over to AWS, make sure you have a login with OIT so you can get into this account, and then you'll want to navigate to S3, which is super simple hosting. I can't remember what it stands for, but anyway, from there you're going to see a bunch of buckets. You'll want to scroll through until you find oit-marketing-podcasthosting. We used to subdivide these into folders for all the shows. When we got through with the automation process, we found that was it was too much. It didn't need to do that. So we just drop everything into this bucket. So from there, once you're in this bucket, hit upload. You want to add your files. So navigate to your folder. Go to 1, 2. So that's your MP3 and your compressed video, MP4. Open those up, and then you want to go under permissions and choose to make this grant public read access. And I understand the risk of granting public read access. Now, there are risks to that depending on what you are doing, but for us, we're making a podcast, so we want anyone on the internet to listen to. So you do require public read access in order for this to work. From there, just go ahead and upload. Take a little while, and you will get 2 different links. So once you have that, I would advise right-clicking and saying open link in a new tab. That way you don't navigate away from this window. Here you'll get a new screen for the MP3 file. If you click this, you can copy that link for it, which you'll need in the posting process. And then again, as I was saying before, make sure you keep your information well organized. Typically, Simon or someone who is producing the show has a show notes document for all of the shows. Some of them are a little different, like the Tech Bar, MSP Community Live. So sometimes I actually have to make these documents myself. You'll see this on the next special report. This is where I just went in and copied the information from YouTube and then copy pasted that same template that you'll see at the bottom where we have a slug, an excerpt for the episode, and then the links. And I'll explain all this as we go through and post it. But if you look at any of the show notes documents, you should see something very similar to this at the bottom of all those. And I would advise just following this template to make posting really easy for you. Okay, so next up, we want to go back to that same screen where I told you to right click so you don't lose it. Open this one in a new tab for your video MP4 file. Copy that link back over to here and drop that in. All right, looking good. So some things we don't have here that we could grab real quick are tags for this episode. So whoever's posting it on YouTube, this may be you. You may have to come up with those tags. But if you didn't do it, if you go back into your video, click show more, it'll open up this area with tags. And there are some that are just the default tags. So we'll go with that for now. We could also add in something like MSP GeekCon. And this is for OCSIT, so why not add that in there as well? Okay, cool. So then for your slug, this is the web link, what will be listed at the end of our URL. And so you want to make this unique. So I always use the same posting format as I did for the file. I say 24/05/29, so the date of the episode, MSPD. And then this is the second one, so you'll have to put 2. That is kind of unique. We don't normally have to do that. And then finally, you'll need an excerpt. This is a short description of the episode. So usually I find the shortest bit of information, copy paste that right down here so you're ready to go. If it's too long, if you can't find a short bit, jump in ChatGPT, ask it to rewrite it for you down to 150 characters, something like that. All right, so now we're going to jump into the fun part. You need to log into mspmedia.tv/wp-admin. From there, you're going to be posting this episode in 2 formats. One is a podcast episode and one is a post. The podcast episodes, they can be on post, but we're going to do this in 2 ways to make this as efficient as possible, starting with an episode for the audio file. So go to podcasting, click add a new episode. And then you're just really going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting as long as you've already got your information and your files in the right place. So that'll take a second to load, but we're going to go ahead and copy paste our title for this episode while we wait. And here we go. So this looks just like any WordPress post. This is different than a WordPress post because we're doing a podcast episode. It doesn't show up on the website like a normal WordPress post would. And that's perfectly fine because we don't really want to do that at this point. We will do that next though. So we do have Divi installed. The Divi builder is part of our WordPress template stuff, and we're not going to use it for this because these are just very simple text posts. So we're going to switch to using the default editor. And then from here, like I said, we're going to start copying and pasting. So you will have a title, you'll have a description with links. And then from there, you'll move out of the main body of the post and you'll move down to some of the things that should look very familiar from what you've put on your document. You want to do your slug. Now the excerpt and the meta description are the same thing. Meta description is what would show up if somebody was searching for this episode on Google. You know, they're going to see this information below the title. Then from there, now we're going to get into the very specific stuff for podcasts. This is using the Castos podcast plugin. This is why this shows up at the bottom of our post, because we have that installed, and it will show up at the bottom of an episode or a post. And you'll see that here shortly. So we're going to copy the link for our audio file, drop it right there. You can choose audio or video. Just want to point that out. Then from there, upload a new image. Hopefully you've already downloaded these, but if you have not, jump over to Dropbox, for instance, for this episode. The next one I'll process, they are right there. I always download the JPEGs for this purpose so we can keep the storage on the site as low as possible and keep the website working quickly. So for a podcast cover image, it needs to be square. That's why we make these for every episode. So in this instance, I went ahead and uploaded both of them, but you can just choose the square one for the episode image. From there, you don't need to fill in duration, file size. It will fill in that stuff for you. You can put in the date recorded if you know it. This is pretty optional, but it's just additional meta information for us. The website will display it as the date published. So the date recorded is just kind of some secret information. If you want to add that, you can. So now you're done with the main body of the posting. So on the right side here, this little sidebar, you can see the button for settings up here. Open that up, switch over to episode, and we're going to set some important things. For instance, when does this go out? This one went out yesterday, and I don't actually know what time it went out. So let's take a look, see if I can figure that out. Yeah, I don't actually know. Normally our episodes go out at 10 a.m. Eastern, so I know I already did one for that. Typically 10 a.m. Eastern, since our website is in UTC, is 4 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. If you're unfamiliar with the time zone change, or if you're unsure, just go Google it and you can say, what is 10 a.m. in UTC? Since I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have put this out at the same time, I'm going to put it ahead a few hours to 6 p.m., which would be 2. It won't make a huge difference since I'm doing this after the fact, but if you were doing it ahead of time, that time will determine when this episode goes out. So pay close attention to that part. Next up, choose an author. Of course, every user for the site is in here, but for public facing purposes, we want to make this say MSP Media Network. Then from there, you've got your tags. So again, keeping our information organized, you can just go over here, copy paste your tags. And then this is where things are going to get slightly different from post to post. What you'll see here on the sidebar is a list of podcasts. They are under an umbrella of all MSP Media Network shows for both audio and video. So you want to make sure that you choose the correct show and the correct format. So in this case, it's going to be MSP Dispatch Audio. You don't need to click the umbrella because it falls under there automatically. Next up, we're going to choose Set Featured Image. You've already uploaded it, hopefully. You want to use the 16:9 ratio image. There's a checkbox for this plugin that says display featured image in post lists only, hide on singular views. What that does is it makes sure that when you click the post, it doesn't have this giant image at the top pushing down all the information of the post. That was something I had to figure out special because otherwise we had these huge images at the top of every post. But we do want to have a featured image so it shows up on the web as well as on the front page. Finally, you want to copy paste that same thing we use for the meta description, which is an excerpt. There we go. And then at this point, you can say schedule. So it looks like I'm off a little bit on the date. Yep. So 29 would be yesterday. And so notice that this changed to publish instead of schedule. So great work. You're halfway there. Okay, so next up, going back to the main menu, you're going to navigate to the submenu above podcasting, which is posts. And underneath there, you can say add a new post. And now this process is going to be extremely similar, except for a few small differences, which I'll point out as we get there. Super important, but easy to miss. But we'll start, of course, with our title for this episode. Same deal with the body. Switch to the default editor. Grab the description. Looking good. We can use the same information for our slug because these fall under different feeds for audio and video, so they do not overlap. Same deal with our meta description / excerpt. This is when we start to run into some differences. So we will choose episode type as video this time. We will copy a video URL from our information. We will upload a new image and choose the square cover image. Again, we don't need to really worry about these. You can do date recorded if you want. All right, so let's run through the things that are, of course, going to be the same. So we're going to put these in for the date yesterday at 6 p.m. Again, remember this is UTC, so that's why it doesn't align with what we're used to talking about posting wise. Author is MSP Media Network. Now this is where things are going to get different. Since this is a post instead of an episode, we do have those episode capabilities built in thanks to the Castos plugin player, but this is actually performing just like any WordPress post. So that means it's going to fall under a category. We set up all of our posts under different categories for each show. That way they can be displayed on subpages for each show, as well as the main page as a collection. And so in this case, you're going to want to first check off the main show that is obviously MSP Dispatch in this case, as well as all MMN shows. Then you're going to want to get your tags again. And let's see, from there, you've seen this before. This is for all podcasts. Now this is going to be slightly different. When we do our posts, we also double up and use this to do our video posts, as you probably already gathered from seeing the video information down here. So you also want to designate it MSP Dispatch Video. That's going to make sure it goes out on that podcast feed. Otherwise, the image is going to stay the same. And our excerpt is going to stay the same. And so you've seen the big differences, which is obviously it's a different podcast, obviously for each format. And you have categories, which was different. And then this is something, I'm kind of doing out of order, only out of habit. You could do this first, but since this is a WordPress post, this is what's going to be seen front facing on the website. So if somebody were to come to the website to check out our show, this post is what they would see for this episode. So what we do out of convenience for the person viewing the site is we're going to add in a little box, a toggle box that's going to give you the choice of video or audio, and it's going to have the YouTube episode as well as the audio from the Castos player. So let's just start with step one, which is add a box and look for the toggle content. If it's not in there, you can search for toggle content, and it's going to add that in. I like to select all here and do Command B to make it bold, and I choose video. Then from there, you can click down into that side of this box and choose YouTube. And then of course you've got your information over here, copy link, Control V, hit enter. And there's your beautiful looking YouTube episode. This is important. This is why we use that featured image plugin earlier, because if you had this and the featured image, it would look like two of the same image stacked on top of each other, which is not great. So now we're going to flip this over to the audio box. Again, Control all or select all and bold it. And then from there, in this side of the box, notice the switch isn't actually changing, but when you click it, the content is. So you're doing fine. Go in and choose Castos player. Again, if you can't find that, just search in the search box. It'll show up. This seems to always take a few, I don't know, like a minute to populate all the episodes. But just bear with it and wait until something shows up in that little box. I think it's going to start with, latest episode. And then from there, drop down and choose the corresponding episode, which we just uploaded as an audio podcast. Hit go, and there you go. You can see this is the MSP Dispatch audio feed with that episode in audio form. If you click this, you'll see it'll switch back and forth between audio and video. From here, you can hit publish. And not only is that going to have pushed it out to our audio feed and our video feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. So the listener never even needs to come to the website if they want to get it off their favorite podcatcher. This is doing that process. And then eventually, once it's done publishing, you'll click view post if you want to see what you've done here. But this is now a new episode on the site. And if you click up here on MSP Media Network, you'll see it's populating all of our episodes from all the shows. Additionally, if you were to pop into shows, click on MSP Dispatch, you're also going to see the update. Oh, look, we've got a little mistake here. Let's refresh and see what happened. Oh yeah, so it's right here. It's the way this is set up is the very first box on the right is always going to be the latest episode, and then this is going to be all the subsequent episodes. So that's pretty much it. I hope that helps you get through the process. After you've done it a couple of times, the muscle memory kicks in and it gets a lot easier. The first times through, I will tell you, I was double and triple checking myself on all the details. But I will also compile this video transcript into a KB, so hopefully you can just reference that as you go along. And if you need any help or have any questions, let me know. All right. Bye.